In one of the cities on Earth, life was very peaceful until suddenly a massive explosion occurred in the middle of the city. A strange creature appeared, looking like it was from space, and started destroying the city. We see a group of superheroes on the ground, defeated by this creature. Suddenly, our hero Saitama appears, ready to confront the city-destroying creature. At the same time, a little girl is crying as the monstrous creature approaches her, about to close its fist on her. Suddenly, someone rescues her just before the creature can grab her. It's Saitama. The creature asks, "Who are you?" Saitama nonchalantly replies, "I'm just a hero for fun." The creature then introduces itself, saying it was formed by environmental pollution caused by humans and was very angry at Saitama for what he said. Its body began to grow and transform into a very frightening form, ready to attack Saitama. However, with one punch, Saitama defeated the creature while standing still. He felt regret that it died with one punch because he wanted to enjoy the fight more. We then flash back 3 years and see people running from a strange crab-like monster. One person stands still in front of it, not running like the others. The crab monster asks, "Aren't you going to run like them?" The person sighs and doesn't respond. The crab says, "You look like a new employee, tired from work." He explains that he transformed because he ate too many crabs and experienced a genetic mutation. The person replies, "You're wrong. I'm not an employee. I'm just an unemployed guy who has been rejected from jobs a million times. I don't care about anything anymore." The crab replies, "Your eyes are empty like mine, so I'll let you go. I'm looking for another target, a young boy with a cleft chin, and his fate will be to be torn apart." The person continues on his way home, but suddenly encounters the boy the crab is looking for. He asks the boy, "What did you do to the crab?" The boy answers, "I drew on his body while he was sleeping." The person decides not to intervene and to leave the boy because he looked unpleasant and didn't realize the consequences of his actions. Suddenly, the crab monster appears and attacks the boy. Just before it closes its fist, the unknown person jumps in quickly and saves the boy, despite having decided to leave him. Surprised at his actions, he tells the boy, "You need to run because you're the crab's target." The crab tells the unknown person, "I killed everyone who mocked my appearance." It gets very angry and threatens that if the person stands in its way, it will make him unable to find a job. The unknown person laughs mockingly and says, "You look like an evil character from an anime I watched before." The crab quickly attacks with a strong punch, then moves towards the child, ready to kill him. Suddenly, the unknown person throws a rock at the crab and says, "I won't let you kill a child in this era of declining birth rates." He adds, "I want to be a hero who kills evil with one punch, not just an employee." The crab hits him again, even stronger than before. The unknown person jumps on the crab, ties its eyes with his tie, and pulls tightly until the crab dies. We then learn that the unknown person is Saitama, our hero. Returning to the present, we see Saitama standing in a supermarket, daydreaming about the crab incident 3 years ago and how he trained afterward, becoming bald and gaining unbeatable strength. Suddenly, the supermarket lights flicker and something strange happens. People start running away until suddenly a giant foot crushes the building. A huge giant is walking through the city with a scientist on his shoulder, looking thrilled. The giant is the scientist's younger brother. We learn that the scientist wants to rule the world, so he created a serum and had his younger brother, who trained hard to become the strongest man in the world, drink it. The brother transformed into a giant and started destroying the city. Amid evacuation alerts and panic in the city, with people running to avoid being crushed by the giant, we see Saitama standing on the giant's shoulder, asking, "How do you feel now that you have become the strongest man in the world?" The scientist tells his brother to kill the man on his shoulder, but the giant mistakenly hits his own shoulder, killing his brother. Enraged at Saitama, the giant throws him into a building, demolishing it completely and pounding on him with all his strength. However, Saitama doesn't die. He jumps back up to the giant and with one punch shatters its skull, causing it to fall to the ground. Later that night, we see Saitama walking, talking to himself, and thinking that despite his strength, he hasn't made an impact on the world and that evil still exists. Suddenly, another monster appears, looking like a car, and starts talking angrily. Saitama, still lost in thought, doesn't pay attention to what the monster is saying and defeats it with one punch. We go to Saitama's home, where he is washing his gloves, thinking again that he's bored of defeating monsters with one punch and feels no competition facing them. The next day, Saitama wakes up to a monster attacking him while he's sleeping. The punch throws Saitama out of the house. Suddenly, he finds the monster behind him, attacking again. Saitama is surprised by the monster's strength and asks who it is. The monster responds that they are the true inhabitants of Earth, known as the underground people, and their numbers have increased, so they decided to take over the surface and exterminate humanity. More monsters like it appear from underground. Just as one is about to attack Saitama, he dodges it and responds with a powerful punch, killing the talking monster. The other monsters are shocked and scared by Saitama's strength. strength. He begins fighting and killing them one by one. Suddenly, a very large monster from the underground people appears and hits Saitama with a strong blow, thinking he's dead. But Saitama emerges from the flames, saying, "I'm just a hero for fun, and I will protect the earth. I will never be defeated." He attacks again and defeats them, feeling very happy to have found a challenging fight. Unexpectedly, their king emerges from underground, but Saitama is not afraid and starts the attack. It turns out this was all a dream, and Saitama wakes up to the sound of his alarm ringing. He breaks the alarm and steps outside to find the same monsters from his dream, but much weaker, fleeing from him. The next day, we see a news broadcast in Japan where the anchor talks about a strange spread of mosquitoes in the city. The odd thing is that the mosquitoes attacked a group of cattle and caused them to become mummified. At the same time, we see Saitama watering the plants on his balcony, and a mosquito comes to him. He tries to kill it but fails. In the city, a huge swarm of mosquitoes is flying, and all the alarms are going off in the streets. On the ground, there is a mummified bird corpse, and we see a person standing in front of the bird, looking at the mosquitoes and saying, "Target detected." Amidst the city's panic, we find a thief taking advantage of people hiding in their homes due to the disaster. He robs stores and mockingly says that humanity won't die from a mosquito bite. At that moment, a swarm of mosquitoes attacks him, drains all his blood viciously, and leaves him a corpse like the cattle and the bird on the rooftop. Suddenly, we see the monster responsible for all this, the Mosquito Queen. The strange person from the rooftop appears and shoots fire from his hand, attacking her, but his attack does not affect her. He asks her if the swarm will disappear if he kills her, and she laughs mockingly, ordering the mosquitoes to attack him. Without moving from his place, he exterminates them all with fire, saying, "I will exterminate you." She laughs at him mockingly and tells him to try. The fight continues, and we notice that this strange person has a body resembling a robot, relying mainly on the fire he shoots from his body. He attacks the Mosquito Queen, but she dodges the fire and cuts off his arm. He surprises her by cutting off her legs when she gets close to him and shoots fire at her again. However, the mosquito swarm protects her, and she escapes from him. She orders the swarm to gather and give her the blood they collected. The strange person appears again, trying to attack her amidst the mosquitoes. Suddenly, we see Saitama running after the mosquito that was bothering him, trying to kill it. The robot man tells him to hide because the swarm has awareness and will attack if it notices them. Unexpectedly, the Mosquito Queen laughs, and the swarm begins destroying the city, increasing in number. They surround the strange person and Saitama, but the strange person shoots fire, causing a massive explosion that wipes out the entire swarm. He remembers Saitama was standing behind him and fears he might have killed him. He turns to look at him and finds him still alive, saying, "You saved me." The strange person is astonished that Saitama survived the explosion. Suddenly, we hear the Mosquito Queen's laugh, and we see her form change, her legs regenerate, and she becomes stronger after taking the blood from the mosquito swarm. She showcases her power and starts destroying the city. She attacks the strange person, cutting his body easily. He tries to retaliate, but she knocks him off the ground and continues with a series of blows. The strange person decides to self-destruct to kill her, but Saitama intervenes and kills her with one punch, mockingly saying, "Mosquitoes are annoying." The strange person is astonished and begs Saitama to tell him his name. Saitama replies, "Saitama," and the stranger asks to become his disciple, but Saitama refuses. The next day, we find the strange person standing at Saitama's house, calling for him. He introduces himself, saying, "My name is Genos. I healed my body after finding spare parts because my entire body is robotic." He tells Saitama that he was a human at 15 years old, 4 years ago, living in peace and happiness with his family. One day, a cyborg attacked his city. These are robotic monsters. The cyborg had errors and failures in his body modifications, causing a mental breakdown that led to the city's destruction. Genos met Professor Casino, who modified his body into a robot. He promised the professor that he would defeat the raging cyborg that destroyed their city. At the same time, a mysterious person sits alone in a strange place, pondering how the Mosquito Queen was defeated with one punch. He doesn't care much because she was just an experimental model. He tells his assistant that Saitama will be their new specimen and that they must examine his body, even by force. We learn that they are an organization called the House of Evolution. Back to Saitama and Genos, who requests again to be his disciple and train under him. This time, Saitama agrees. At that moment, a monster resembling a locust suddenly enters, but as usual, Saitama crushes his head with one punch. We see 2 more monsters outside the house. Genos prepares to fight them and finds that Saitama has already gone down and defeated them. Suddenly, Saitama is dragged underground by another monster. A cyborg appears behind Genos and attacks him, but Genos retaliates. The cyborg attacks again, and Genos blocks blocks the strike. Another monster resembling a lion appears, leading to another fight between Genos and the cyborg. The cyborg tells him, "I am the result of the House of Evolution's research, and our target is Saitama." Meanwhile, the lion monster attacks Saitama with all his strength, but Saitama easily dodges his blows. The lion becomes very serious, increasing the speed and power of his attacks, but it's futile. Saitama responds with a series of punches, exploding the lion's body. The mole monster is terrified and quickly escapes underground, but Saitama follows and defeats him. Back to Genos, who overpowers the cyborg and demands answers to all his questions. The cyborg, scared, agrees to answer everything. And we go back in time, and the gorilla tells Saitama that there was a genius scientist named Gensos who contributed many things to all parts of the world, but he was let down by the world because, despite people admiring his genius and constantly praising him, they never accepted his ideas and theories. This was because he didn't want to develop civilization. He wanted to artificially enhance the human brain, and the world refused to support him. So, he decided to continue his plan alone until he succeeded. The results of his plan began to show when he reached the age of 70. The first thing he did was rejuvenate himself and clone himself, naming his lab the House of Evolution. He conducted countless experiments on animals to produce new species, but ultimately, he took humans as test subjects. Now, he is interested in Saitama's body. Back to the present, Saitama and Genos decide to head to the House of Evolution to get rid of this mad scientist. As they leave, the gorilla sends a report to the professor at the House of Evolution, warning him that they are heading towards the lab. But Genos remembers to ask the gorilla if the House of Evolution had been developing the cyborg for more than 4 years and if they had ever destroyed a city, and the gorilla tells him that the fighter cyborg is the only one in the House of Evolution. We cut to a scene in the House of Evolution after the report reaches the professor, who is very terrified because the ancient human extinction squad, which included the gorilla and the lion, was defeated easily. He concludes that if they reach the lab, all the research results will be destroyed, so he decides to use his trump card and unleash a weapon called Ashura Kabuto. The clones in the lab show terror just at the mention of this weapon's name. When they reach the location the gorilla gave them, they find an ordinary building with 8 floors. Suddenly, Genos destroys it as a more effective way to search for the lab, and they find a door on the ground leading downward. It's obvious this is the safest place to hide a lab, so they open it and go down. Back at the lab, we see one of the professor's clones shooting a huge monster with a machine gun, but the bullets have no effect. The monster crushes the clone with its hand, killing it. The professor enters and introduces us to Ashura Kabuto, who is furious at seeing the professor because he has been kept underground despite being the strongest fighter in the House of Evolution. The professor explains that Ashura was mentally unstable and uncontrollable, leaving no choice but to keep him underground. Ashura laughs mockingly, claiming to be the perfected version of the new human species they aim to create and saying they should obey him. The professor, having no issue with being killed, requests Ashura to capture or kill Saitama because of his overwhelming strength. We return to Saitama and Genos walking in a vast underground corridor on their way to the lab. Genos senses 2 individuals approaching from a distance, and we see Ashura carrying the professor, who is bleeding from his head. Ashura asks which one of them it is, and the professor indicates the one on the right. Ashura suddenly delivers a powerful blow to Genos, pinning him to the wall, stating they don't need the one on the left. He calls Saitama to the battle room to test their combat abilities and see who is stronger. Before the fight begins, Genos reappears, attacking Ashura with all his might. He charges at Ashura with fire, delivering a barrage of punches and flames, but nothing affects Ashura. In one blow, Ashura incapacitates Genos. Desperately, Genos attempts one last attack, but Ashura blows the fire back at him. This sparks Saitama's interest in fighting. The professor, struggling and leaning against the wall, recalls his lifelong struggle, viewing humans as mentally deficient and longing to create an environment where he could live harmoniously with others. He reaches the battle room, wondering if Saitama could be the key to the new evolution of humanity. Ashura, moving at great speed, tries to attack Saitama from behind, but is suddenly terrified and retreats to the edge of the room, sensing immense danger from Saitama despite his casual stance. Trembling, Ashura asks where Saitama got his incredible strength. The professor is shocked that Ashura, their strongest subject, is so afraid. Saitama, in a serious tone, decides to reveal his secret. Everyone is on edge as he begins, but unexpectedly, he shares a simple workout routine that he claims gave him his strength in 3 years. He tells them that those trying to create a new human race like them will never reach his level. Everyone is stunned and in disbelief at what he said. Genos argues that the routine is ordinary and not challenging enough to achieve such strength, suggesting there must be another secret. Saitama responds that even if he says that, he didn't do anything else. Enraged, Ashura, feeling mocked by someone with mere workout routines, transforms into his berserk mode, growing larger and more frightening. He declares he will stay in this form for a week, intending to remain like this until next Saturday. Ashura attacks Saitama with incredible force, smashing the walls and tossing Saitama around like a ball. Suddenly, Saitama remembers the supermarket sales tomorrow and realizes today is Saturday. Angered at possibly missing the sales, he delivers a single powerful punch that obliterates Ashura. The next day, we find a group of people who have formed an organization called the Bliss Brigade. They oppose the idea of work, want to eat without paying money, envy the rich, and seek freedom. We learn that their leader is named Hammerhead, and he was speaking loudly to attract attention, saying, "I aim to change society, let those who want to work, work, and let the rest relax." But no one listens to him, everyone ignores him. He decides to take his brigade to attack the richest man in the city, named Zenairu. They go to his house, which they find is as tall as a skyscraper. Their leader, Hammerhead, starts to worry. One of the brigade members delivers a powerful blow directed at the ground floor of the building, completely demolishing it. We learn that this strength comes from experimental combat suits they stole from another organization. Stupidly, they realize they destroyed the wrong building and that Zenairu's house is a bit further away, so they decide to head there. We switch to Saitama, who wakes up from a nightmare and hears the news about the Bliss Brigade. He seems uninterested until he hears that the brigade members are all bald. Fearing that he might get a bad reputation like them and be treated as a villain, he gets ready to go deal with them. Back to the Bliss Brigade, they're walking through the city causing destruction, and everyone is in a state of panic because of them. Suddenly, a strange person riding a bike appears, claiming to be a hero named Mumen Rider, who seems quite popular in the city. But with one hit, they defeat him and call an ambulance for him. We then go to Zenairu in his luxurious building. His servant tells him he must flee before the brigade arrives, but Zenairu refuses, saying that fleeing would tarnish his reputation. A new character appears, Zenairu's personal bodyguard named Sonic, who is a ninja. He tells Zenairu, "You're lucky this is happening during our contract period. Don't worry about the brigade. Worry about how you'll dispose of their bodies." We return to the Bliss Brigade as they approach Zenairu's building. Suddenly, Sonic appears in front of them and demands their surrender, but they attack him instead. With incredible speed, Sonic strikes them with his sword, decapitating them all. Only their leader, Hammerhead, is left. Hammerhead strikes the ground with such force that it causes an earthquake, trying to stop Sonic, but he fails and only angers Sonic more. He throws a large rock at Sonic, but Sonic dodges it. Hammerhead continues throwing more rocks, but Sonic evades them all. He then swiftly moves towards Hammerhead, who loses sight of Sonic due to his speed. Hammerhead tries to block Sonic with a tree, but Sonic surprises him from behind and strikes him with a kunai in the head, causing him to fall to the ground. Sonic assumes he's dead and calls Zenairu to inform him that he killed them all. Suddenly, Hammerhead's body disappears. We see Hammerhead running through the forest, not dead because the kunai couldn't penetrate his hard skull. He bumps into someone passing through the forest, who turns out to be Saitama, who was looking for him. We cut to Genos, who is being repaired by the professor after what happened with Ashura. Genos starts telling the professor about Saitama, saying that Saitama saved him twice and describing his incredible strength. The professor promises that once he finishes the new parts he's developing, Genos' power will increase and he might become almost as strong as Saitama. Back to Saitama, who stands in front of Hammerhead and asks if he wants to join the Bliss Brigade. Hammerhead responds, "No, I'm just a guy who plays the role of a hero as a hobby. For personal reasons," he says, "I'm going to defeat you now." He asks where the rest of the brigade is, and Hammerhead gets angry and delivers a powerful blow. Amidst the smoke, he finds Saitama still standing in place, unmoved. Hammerhead starts to worry. Saitama says, "You disappointed me. I was excited because you had combat suits." Hammerhead then uses the suit's full power, spinning his arm like a wheel, and was about to attack Saitama. But Saitama easily stops his arm and with one elbow destroys the combat suit. Hammerhead gets terrified and Saitama lets him run away. He was about to leave when suddenly Sonic appears, asking where Hammerhead is. Sonic says to himself, "I didn't expect anyone to be left," referring to Saitama. He throws a kunai at him, but Saitama catches it. Sonic then charges at him with a sword, which Saitama grabs and breaks, telling Sonic that Hammerhead escaped and that he's not from the Bliss Brigade. He's just a guy who plays the role of a hero as a hobby and defeats villains. But Sonic doesn't believe him and insists on defeating him because he predicted Saitama's moves twice. He starts showcasing his speed in front of Saitama but fails to defeat him and promises to beat him next time. That night, Saitama talks to Genos about Sonic. Genos says he's never heard of him before. Saitama then expresses his frustration about his low popularity and that no one knows him. Genos asks, "Didn't you register your name on the hero registry?" He tells him that he needs to register to get recognized, so they both register. Saitama promises Genos that if they pass the test and become become heroes, he will take him as his student. In a strange scene, we see two unknown characters hitting Hammerhead with a powerful blow. It's clear from their conversation that they belong to the organization from which Hammerhead stole the combat suits, and they were coming to eliminate him. However, he doesn't die because of his hard skull. On a new day, there is a meeting in the Heroes Association where they talk about Mumen Rider, mentioning that he is in rank C and has refused to be promoted to rank B. They also discuss the upcoming hero exam for 55 candidates, which we know Saitama and Genos have applied for. We move to the exam preparations and find hundreds of heroes standing in two lines to register. Then we see Saitama standing there, and everyone looks at him with astonishment, mocking and laughing at him. However, he amazes them with his strength and speed. It was clear that he was accustomed to these exercises, as they were nothing to him, whether it was side jumping, running, or weightlifting. He broke all records, and it was evident that no one could match Saitama. The exams end, and we see Saitama in the changing room, meeting Genos, who tells him that the exams were trivial. An hour later, the exam results are announced, and Genos receives a perfect score and is classified as an S-rank hero. He asks Saitama about his result, and Saitama pulls the paper halfway out of the envelope. Genos assumes that Saitama's rank is also S and asks him about the interview. Genos thought the organization interviewed Saitama too, but it turns out they didn't because they were investigating the House of Evolution incident and suspected Genos was the one who destroyed the building, which he confirmed. Genos notices that Saitama is upset and asks why. Saitama replies that he got a score of 71 in the exam and is ranked C, not S. They are then called over the microphone in the changing room to attend a lecture held for all the successful candidates. At the same time, in a recording studio, we see an unknown person on a call with someone named Amai Mask. He informs Amai Mask that they found Genos and made an exception for him, granting him an S rank. Amai Mask agrees with the rank they assigned him. On his desk, there is a file on Genos marked Top Secret. We return to Saitama and Genos, who attend the lecture and find out they are the only ones who passed the exam. The lecture is given by a hero named Snake, who is the last in rank A. He tries to belittle them, saying they barely passed by luck and that they must work hard from now on. He tells them that they are now heroes and should not engage in disgraceful behavior, as their photos will be on the main page of the Heroes Association website. However, they ignore him. Saitama chews gum indifferently, and Genos seems not to listen at all, which angers Snake greatly. At sunset in the association, we find Snake sitting angrily, complaining about how two newcomers passed the exam. One of the association members tells him that he is mistaken. Genos got a perfect score on both exams and is ranked S, higher than Snake, while Saitama was only bad in the written test but broke records in the physical exam and will soon reach his level. A little later, while Saitama is walking alone, thinking about his rank, Snake suddenly appears and tells him that the newcomer's lecture isn't over and that there's something called newcomer crushing in this association. He attacks Saitama, but Saitama easily defeats him and continues on his way. The next day, Saitama fulfills his promise and takes Genos as his disciple. This is the first day of training, which they start with a sparring match. Genos prepares and attacks Saitama, using fire to increase his speed, but Saitama easily dodges all the attacks. Genos then fires at him with full force but still fails to hit Saitama. It's clear that Genos is exhausted but doesn't give up. He attacks again, engaging in close combat and landing a flurry of punches, only to realize he was hitting an afterimage. He turns around to find Saitama running on the ground, so he blocks his path and fires directly at him with full power, thinking he has trapped him. Suddenly, Saitama appears behind him and taps his shoulder. Genos asks him not to go easy on him, saying that the sparring continues until he can no longer fight. Genos hoped to uncover the secret of Saitama's strength during the match. However, Saitama suddenly charges at him and almost delivers a powerful punch, but stops just before hitting his face to avoid destroying him. He tells Genos, "I'm hungry," and walks away, leaving Genos in shock, realizing he was on the verge of death. He looks back to find that everything behind him has been obliterated by the force of Saitama's punch. At night, they go to a restaurant where Saitama and Genos compete in eating. Suddenly, Amai Mask appears and introduces himself to Genos, saying, "I'm the top hero in rank A and want to talk to you." Everyone in the restaurant welcomes Amai Mask, indicating his great popularity. Genos tells Saitama to wait for him in the restaurant after Saitama warned him that Amai Mask might be like Snake, a crusher of newcomers, and thinks he's coming to fight Genos. Genos steps out to talk to Amai Mask and returns shortly, telling Saitama that Amai Mask was just welcoming him. Saitama is surprised. The people in the restaurant then ask Genos for handshakes because he's acquainted with Amai Mask. Saitama feels a bit jealous. On their way home, Genos is deep in thought about what Amai Mask told him and the high expectations he has for him. Suddenly, he tells Saitama, I'll be back later. We then learn that he went to get his things and asked Saitama if he could live with him, to which Saitama agreed. After 5 days of receiving their hero titles, nothing happened in the city. At Saitama's house, we find Genos writing down Saitama's daily routine, diet, and training, documenting everything he can about him. Genos reminds Saitama that it was mentioned in the lecture that if you are a C-rank hero, your name will be removed from the hero list if you don't perform at least one heroic act within a week. It turns out that Saitama didn't know this because he wasn't paying attention in the lecture. He spent the last 5 days waiting for something to happen in the city and listening to the news, but nothing happened. So, Saitama quickly gets ready to go out and search for any villains to defeat in order to get promoted. He runs through the streets like a madman, looking for any trouble or villains to defeat, but finds the city peaceful with nothing happening. So he decides to return home and continue tomorrow. The next day, Saitama goes out searching again, but finds peace everywhere. Suddenly, a kunai is thrown at him, and he catches it quickly before it reaches him. Turning around, he finds Sonic, Zenairu's bodyguard, who has returned for revenge. Saitama tells him he's busy and walks away, which makes Sonic very angry. Sonic attacks him swiftly, but Saitama breaks his sword with his teeth and gives Sonic a menacing look, threatening him. Suddenly, a little girl complains to another hero about Saitama, saying he was running through the city like a madman with a scary expression on his face. Both Saitama and Sonic are surprised by this hero, who we learn is named Tank Top Tiger. He asks, "Are you the suspicious person?" Saitama tells Sonic that people treat him as suspicious, but then Tiger grabs Saitama's head and says, "You're the one causing trouble." Saitama tells him he's a hero, but Tiger looks down on him, saying he's causing problems and tarnishing the reputation of other heroes. People start cheering for Tiger, admiring him. Suddenly, Sonic throws an explosive shuriken at Tiger, knocking him to the ground, unable to get up again. Saitama gets annoyed and asks Sonic what he's doing. Sonic replies that Tiger got in his way, so he took him down. People start to flee and call for a hero. Sonic attacks Saitama again, this time throwing explosive shurikens all over the city, trying to hit Saitama but failing. Saitama jumps towards him and, with one punch, breaks the ground beneath him. At the Heroes Association, they notice that Saitama defeated a dangerous person, meaning he successfully performed a heroic act. The head of the association starts asking about the investigation he requested for the abandoned city. A member of the association responds that they have already sent a request to 2 heroes to carry out the investigation. After the investigation, reports arrive and are presented to the council. They find that all cities are stable, with heroes controlling the situation and defeating all monsters, except for City Z, from which no reports have been received. We then move to City Z, where we find 2 A-rank heroes, Banajuji and Ogon Bull, arriving at the abandoned city with rumors of a dangerous monster. Suddenly, they feel a strange presence moving behind them. They turn around but find nothing, so they run towards it. Suddenly, they encounter the monster, which looks very strange with tentacles resembling coral reefs but much harder. Ogon starts the attack, aiming his arrow at the monster, claiming it can penetrate steel 20 millimeters thick. He fires, but the monster's tentacles are too hard and unaffected. The monster surprises Ogon by grabbing his leg with one of its tentacles, pulling him underground and slamming him into a building, knocking him out. Banajuji pulls out a handkerchief from his sleeve, which transforms into a sword. He starts deflecting the monster's swift attacks, his sword turning into a spring and extending to hit the monster, but it only affects one of its tentacles. Losing hope of defeating it, Banajuji requests support from the association and tries to distract the monster for as long as possible until help arrives. The association receives the news and calls upon all heroes ranked A or higher who are near the abandoned city. The news spreads among all the heroes. We return to Banajuji, who has been defeated, exhausted from the fight, his sword broken, in a miserable state. He passes out. The monster decides to head towards the populated area to gain fame, but encounters Saitama on his way back from the supermarket. Mistaking Saitama for an ordinary person, the monster attacks him. We move to Saitama's house and see him in the kitchen cooking something that looks like the monster's hair, known as kelp soup. Genos enters and asks him about the amount of kelp he bought. Saitama replies that he got it cheaply by chance, leading us to conclude that he is cooking the monster's tentacles. However, to the association, the monster is still at large, as they don't know it has been defeated, and they continue searching for it. Meanwhile, we see heroes standing in the abandoned area in front of a completely destroyed building, assuming the monster did it. But in reality, these are the remnants of the fight when Saitama defeated the monster. Rumors start spreading throughout the cities among humans and monsters, causing fear among them all. On a new day, astronomers detect a massive meteor heading towards the city and warn the Heroes Association that it will crash in Zone Z, and they need to take action. The association starts summoning everyone in rank S, but the only ones who show up at the association headquarters in Zone Z are Genos and an old man named Bang, who is third in rank S. Bang begins to explain the situation to Genos, telling him that the disaster is dragon level and a meteor will hit the city in 35 minutes. We hear the sound of alarms and warnings to evacuate the area, but it's too late to escape. Genos quickly leaves the building to find a solution for the meteor, running over the rooftops to get closer to it, holding a bag in his hand. He throws it and suddenly it transforms into robotic arms with very powerful weapons. Suddenly, another cyborg appears, and we notice it's a giant robot flying fast above Genos, landing in front of him. Genos asks, "Are you Beaufoy?" The robot replies, "And you are the rookie Genos?" Genos asks, "Are you here to stop the meteor?" The robot confidently responds, "Yes," and Genos recalls hearing about him, ranked 7th in rank S, known for destroying his enemies and all the surrounding buildings with intense firepower. Genos requests Beaufoy's help, but he refuses, saying, "I'm here to test my new weapon, nothing more." Genos responds, "But you'll die too if the meteor hits." Beaufoy replies, "No, you're talking to a remotely controlled robot. Call me Metal Knight, not Beaufoy, as that's the association's custom." They notice the meteor getting closer, so Genos runs and jumps onto the nearest rooftop, ready to fire. However, Beaufoy fires missiles first, which reach the meteor quickly, causing a huge explosion. Suddenly, the meteor reappears through the smoke, unaffected. Genos prepares to try his luck, charging his inner energy to fire, but he is overwhelmed by thoughts, fearing his shot won't work or the meteor will split and destroy the city. Bang appears behind him, telling him to calm down, noticing his distress, and gives him strange advice, saying he must act randomly in tough situations. Genos tears his clothes, revealing his chest, takes out his power source that keeps him alive, and places it in his weapon, firing with all his might. Yet, even that doesn't affect the meteor, and Genos loses all his strength. Our true hero, Saitama, appears, jumping from a building, meeting the meteor with his fist, destroying it. However, it fragments, raining rocks on the city and causing widespread destruction. Luckily, there were no fatalities. We go to Saitama's house and find Genos there as usual. Saitama asks, "Did our ranks increase?" Genos replies, "I became 16th out of 17 in rank S, and you became 5th out of 342 in rank C," explaining that the significant rise was due to the dragon level disaster. He adds, "If you hadn't caused any damage, you would have become rank S." After a while, Saitama goes for a walk in the city, seeing the supermarket he shops at destroyed. Suddenly, Tiger appears, but Saitama doesn't remember him. Tiger calls his big brother, who jumps and stands on a rock, introducing himself as Tank Top Black Hole. He starts asking Saitama, "Are you the fraud who raised his rank by stealing the achievements of S-rank heroes?" It's clear they are jealous of his rank rise and trying to stop him from working. Black Hole starts loudly accusing Saitama, "Are you the main culprit behind the city's destruction?" blaming him to tarnish his reputation in front of people. Unfortunately, people believe his words, start blaming Saitama, seeing him as a villain, not a hero, and telling him to stop being a hero. Suddenly, Tank Top Black Hole declares his intent to rid the city of everyone, saying he and his brother won't allow this. They approach Saitama, ready to fight. Tiger attacks, but Saitama hits him once, sending him flying. His big brother, scared of Saitama's strength, attacks but is easily defeated when Saitama grabs and breaks his arm. Black Hole apologizes, begging Saitama to spare him. Saitama starts telling people that he destroyed the meteor and anyone who objects can speak up. A person complains about his car being destroyed, but Saitama responds, "Shut up, I don't care about your personal losses. Go tell it to the meteor. I'm not doing this for your approval. I'm doing it for my own desire." Genos interrupts, saying, "Let's go home." The next day, we find a huge monster resembling an octopus attacking the city. We see Mumen Rider on his way to the monster's location, but before he arrives, Saitama has already taken it down. Mumen Rider goes home and searches for information about Saitama on the Hero Association's website. Back in the city, it's clear that the sea is angry, and we see a group of sea monsters coming to take over the city. Suddenly, a hero from rank and named Stinger appears and fights these monsters alone, despite their numbers. We go to Saitama's house, where we find Genos drying the dishes and telling Saitama, "You've reached 2nd place in rank C, and you're close to being promoted to rank B." Genos' phone rings. It's a call for Zone J, where Sea King monsters are attacking. They find out that a rank A hero is fighting there alone and is exhausted. He defeats 4 more monsters, but gets hit hard by another monster and loses consciousness. We see Saitama and Genos on their way to City J, which is far from their city. The alarms start sounding, warning that the disaster is at Tiger level. We see Mumen Rider on his way to the monsters, and along the way, he meets some heroes of his rank who advise him not to go because they can't handle the situation. They hear on the alarm that the disaster level has increased from Tiger to Demon. At the same time, a hero is observing the monster that defeated Stinger from a rooftop, thinking he can defeat it in a one-on-one fight. Suddenly, Suddenly, he feels the monster behind him, gets very scared, making strange sounds, and hits it reflexively, but it doesn't affect the monster at all. The monster responds with a powerful blow, sending the hero flying to another building, rendering him unable to move. The monster follows, laughing mockingly. The hero stands up with difficulty, trying to kick the monster with a fire-boosted kick, but it doesn't affect it. The monster hits back, knocking him off the building, and before he falls to his death, he's saved by an S-rank hero named Pori Pori Prisoner, who is wearing a prison outfit. He's with Sonic, and they both escape thanks to the destruction happening in the city. They start talking, and Sonic thanks Pori for helping him escape, saying it's strange for a hero to be imprisoned. Pori responds that he was jailed because he couldn't stop himself from attacking boys. The monster reappears, and Pori prepares to fight it, flexing his muscles. The Sea King attacks him with a powerful blow, but Pori responds with a strong punch, affecting the monster but not enough. Realizing the Sea King's strength, Pori decides to transform, suddenly tearing off all his clothes, declaring that this is angel mode and no one has seen it and lived. Pori jumps, wings of light appear and disappear, and he descends towards the Sea King, landing multiple powerful blows. The Sea King blocks them, unaffected, and counters with a series of strong punches, knocking Pori down. The Sea King continues his assault with rapid punches, finally kicking Pori far away. A fight begins between Sonic and the Sea King. The Sea King starts the attack, but Sonic dodges because he's fast, taunting the Sea King by calling him slow. Sonic attacks with a swift kick, becoming overconfident. Suddenly, the Sea King reveals a monstrous snake-like tongue with sharp teeth, almost killing Sonic, who quickly dodges and bites the tongue, cutting it off. The fight continues, with Sonic dodging all the Sea King's attacks and countering with weak, rapid strikes. Suddenly, the Sea King's speed and power increase due to the rain. The Sea King chases Sonic until he catches him, thinking he's got him, but it's just Sonic's jacket. Sonic stands on another rooftop, saying he'll be back later. The Sea King heads towards the shelter, intending to kill everyone inside. He jumps onto the building, breaking the roof, and introduces himself. A hero interrupts, saying they surrender and will do anything he asks. The Sea King responds that he'll kill them anyway. Suddenly, several heroes appear, standing against the Sea King, trying to buy time until more heroes arrive. Among them are Snek, the last in rank A, a B-rank hero, and 2 C-rank heroes, including the one who said they surrendered but felt braver seeing other heroes with him. We go back to Saitama, who meets Mumen Rider on his way to the monster and rides behind him on his bike to guide him, as he doesn't know the way. Suddenly, Sonic speeds past Saitama, who senses him but doesn't recognize him. Saitama gets off the bike to investigate who passed by. Mumen Rider's phone rings, and he learns the monster is at the shelter in the opposite direction. He throws the phone and speeds off. Back at the shelter, everyone is in a state of panic, including the heroes, who try to muster their courage. Meanwhile, Saitama finds Mumen Rider's phone ringing on the ground. When he answers, he hears a Hero Association member warning Mumen Rider about the dangerous situation and that an S-rank hero has been defeated by the monster. Saitama, surprised, asks, "An S-rank hero was defeated?" The member asks, "Who are you? Where is Mumen Rider?" Saitama asks, "Are you from the Hero Association?" The member replies, "Yes, who are you? Give the phone to its owner." Saitama answers, "I am the hero Saitama." Back at the shelter, we see Snek thrown through the roof, defeated, along with the other heroes. Finally, Genos arrives at the shelter. He attacks the Sea King with a powerful, fire-enhanced punch, sending the Sea King flying out of the building. Genos turns to the residents and asks, "Is that the last one?" They all celebrate his victory, but suddenly, the king reappears and strikes Genos with a strong blow, severing his arm. However, the king's face shows signs of Genos' punch, and he looks furious. We switch back to Saitama, who is still on the phone, asking the organization head for the location of the shelter where the monster is. The head hesitates to share it since Saitama is only in Class C, but one of the organization members suggests verifying his record. They recall that he scored full marks in the physical exam and helped the S-Class heroes destroy the meteor. The head decides to give him the location. Returning to Genos, he tells the residents to evacuate while he holds the king off. The Sea King charges at the people, declaring he won't let any of them escape, but Genos intercepts him with a powerful kick, engaging him in battle. He lands a strong blow that sends the Sea King through the roof of the building, then fires at him, blinds him with a flash of light, and hits him with a kick that breaks the roof. Following up with a series of punches, Genos gives it his all, but none of it seems to affect the Sea King, who retaliates with a devastating strike. Suddenly, the Sea King spits a corrosive liquid at a little girl, but Genos shields her, taking the hit himself. His body begins to melt, his parts corroding severely. The Sea King seizes the opportunity, throwing Genos out of the building. He follows Genos outside and is about to kill him when Mumen Rider appears, throwing his bicycle at the Sea King. He attempts to fight but is quickly overpowered. The Sea King lifts him and slams him into the the ground. Despite being severely injured, Mumen Rider refuses to give up, standing back up to attack again. I know I'm weak, he says. I don't deserve to be in Class B because of my weakness. I know I can't defeat you, but I still have to face you. His words inspire the bystanders, who cheer him on. He charges once more, but the Sea King strikes him down. Before he hits the ground, Saitama catches him and tells him, "You fought well." The Sea King mocks Saitama, calling him another piece of trash, but Saitama ignores him, noticing Genos lying on the ground, unable to move. Saitama casually says, "Wait a second. Let me deal with this ugly creature." The Sea King attacks Saitama with a punch to the head, but is shocked that Saitama doesn't move. "Your punch is weak," Saitama remarks. The residents begin to wonder who this man is, and one of them recognizes him from the hero rankings as the second in Class C. The Sea King grows arrogant, asking Saitama how he dares challenge a king. Unbothered, Saitama says, Alright, just attack quickly." The rain is annoying. The Sea King, enraged, lunges at him, but Saitama punches a hole through his torso with a single blow. The rain stops, and the residents are left in awe, celebrating Saitama's victory. The next morning, we see Saitama and Genos returning from the supermarket. A drone lands in front of them, delivering a box full of fan letters. They take it home and start opening the letters. The first one Saitama opens says, "No one cares about you," calling him a fraud. Saitama dismisses it, saying it's just from someone with too much time on their hands. Genos reflects on the previous day, remembering how after Saitama defeated the monster, the crowd cheered for him and praised his incredible strength. However, someone from the crowd interrupted, mocking Saitama, saying, "What if the monster was weak from the start?" He began belittling the other heroes, claiming their titles and ranks were meaningless, and accusing them of exaggerating their struggles to make their accomplishments seem significant. As people started getting angry and were about to attack him, he continued, "This bald guy solved everything. Doesn't that mean the deaths of the other heroes were in vain? Anyone can delay and waste time, which means the heroes didn't do anything." Saitama laughed mockingly and said, "I was just lucky. Thanks to the heroes exhausting the monster, I wouldn't have defeated it otherwise. It's a good thing I showed up late and took the credit without doing much." He intentionally tarnished his image so no one would discredit the efforts of the other heroes who had sacrificed themselves to save the city. He concluded by pointing to the crowd and saying, "Take care of the injured heroes so I can take advantage of them later." Of course, he said this to make people appreciate their efforts, putting their recognition above his own. Returning to the present, Saitama and Genos continue opening letters. They find one thanking Saitama and another from the Hero Association, announcing Saitama's promotion to first place in Class C. They summon him for an interview and ask if he wants to be promoted to the last spot in Class B. Saitama responds, "I don't care about ranks, but I'll give Class B a shot as long as I don't have to submit weekly reports." Meanwhile, a group of influential individuals in the organization observes the interview from a higher level, debating whether to promote Saitama. Some believe he deserves the chance, while others accuse him of being a fraud. They decide to give him a chance. If he succeeds in Class B, he's legitimate. If not, he'll regret his deceit. The head of the organization consults Amai Mask about Saitama's promotion. Amai responds, "You don't need to inform me about something like this. I only interfere with selecting heroes who significantly influence society and those promoted to Class A or higher." The head replies, "The one requesting the promotion is the person who defeated the Sea King with a single punch." Later that night, Saitama is on his way home, holding his Class B promotion letter. He passes a restaurant with a delicious smell and decides to go in for a meal. Inside, he meets Mumen Rider, who invites him to celebrate his new promotion with a drink. The next day, we see a massive monster declaring that with the disappearance of the King of the Deep Seas and the King of Humans, the Lizard Clan will rise again and reclaim the Earth. Suddenly, missiles are fired at him by the Hero Association. One of the S-Class heroes jumps out of a plane hovering above the monster, landing in front of him, and looks at him arrogantly. The monster asks, "Who are you?" But she ignores him and answers her ringing phone, realizing it's the association calling her back. She yells at them, saying, "You're the ones who sent me here because some anomaly is about to awaken soon." The monster is confused, not believing what she said, and declares, "I am the king of ancient ages, ruler of the dinosaurs and the world." She doesn't care about his words and responds coldly, "I'm on the phone. Stop being annoying." She hangs up the call. The monster approaches her and asks, "Are you done?" She sarcastically asks, "What's with the beard? Am I supposed to be scared of it?" He mocks her, saying, "Pretend to be brave all you want, little one." Enraged, she decides to retaliate, but the monster tries to stomp on her. She dodges easily and flies into the air. He compliments her skills but claims she'll need a meteor to defeat him. She replies arrogantly, "That's easy. I'll get you one." He starts shooting at her from his mouth, but then he notices a real meteor coming down from the sky. It lands and completely annihilates departs him, leaving behind only his skeleton. We shift to Saitama and Genos, who are with Bang on a mountaintop, where Bang demonstrates a martial arts move at his dojo. He asks if they want to learn it, but they're uninterested since it's for self-defense while they need destructive techniques. Suddenly, a member of the Hero Association appears, looking highly tense. He tells them the association is summoning all S-Class heroes urgently. He's surprised to see Genos there and asks him to come along as well. At the association headquarters, they meet Atomic Samurai, who greets Bang and Genos but refuses to shake Saitama's hand because of his low rank. He tells him, "When you reach a higher rank, I'll acknowledge you." Tatsumaki, another S-Class hero, arrogantly tells Saitama to leave and not bother those of S-Class rank. Saitama sarcastically replies, asking Genos, "Who's this arrogant lost kid?" She gets furious, but Saitama ignores her and heads to the meeting room. Inside, we see the most powerful heroes, all from the highest rank. The atmosphere is tense, with everyone analyzing and sizing each other up. Notably, Metal Knight and the first-ranked S-Class hero are absent. An association member introduces himself as Shichi and explains that his task is to provide them with critical information. He gets straight to the point, stating that they've been gathered to protect Earth against a real threat to their lives, even if they're all working together. He offers them a chance to leave before he explains the mission, as backing out afterward won't be allowed. A trivial argument erupts among the heroes, but Shichi interrupts them, revealing that the great seer Shibabawa has died. One of the heroes asks if she was killed. An association member explains that she was coughing violently while trying to predict the second half of the year. She choked to death while taking her medicine. Shichi continues, saying she managed to predict some upcoming catastrophes and pulls out a paper containing her final prophecy. The Earth is in danger. Everyone is shocked and fearful, realizing this means a disaster beyond dragon level is expected in the second half of the year. Suddenly, they hear explosions outside the association building caused by 5 terrifying winged monsters attacking it with fireballs, aiming to eliminate the heroes and take control of the city. The monsters prepare to strike again, but something terrifying happens. A warning voice from one of the creatures is heard, alerting their king of someone powerful enough to defeat and kill them. A more horrifying monster with 5 heads and a massive weapon-like arm appears. Above it, an enormous, menacing spaceship hovers in the sky, firing a devastating blast that destroys a large part of the city instantly. A father and son miraculously survive, but the monstrous king approaches to kill them. Suddenly, a hero cuts off the monster's arm with a sword. However, the arm regenerates, and the monster attacks again, forcing the hero to remove his helmet to avoid being crushed. The hero, revealed as Atomic Samurai's disciple, fights back, slicing the monster in half. Back at the association, Shichi is horrified to find 99% of the city destroyed, with only their building left intact. Bang asks why the building is undamaged. An association member explains that they had Metal Knight construct it, making it more secure than any regular shelter. Meanwhile, Saitama exits through the roof to see what's happening outside. He's stunned by the spaceship's size and leaps towards it. The ship fires a massive projectile at him, but he dodges it. They fire more, but Saitama evades them all and kicks one back toward the ship. We return to Atomic Samurai's disciple, exhausted from fighting the seemingly unkillable creature. The monster transforms its hand into a hammer and delivers a devastating blow, severing the hero's arm. The monster then splits into 5 beings. Luckily, Atomic Samurai arrives and slices them all in half. The disciple, revealed to be named IAI, calls out to his master, who asks about his left arm. AI tells him that swords are ineffective against the monster and urges him to flee. The monster reassembles itself into an even more terrifying form. Atomic Samurai mocks the creature and its spaceship, realizing it's an alien. Bang arrives alongside another S-Class hero, Bofoi, and they prepare to assist Atomic Samurai. Bofoi launches a series of attacks on the monster. Meanwhile, Saitama infiltrates the spaceship, defeating the creatures inside and destroying parts of it while searching for their leader to finish him off. A one-eyed monster appears before us, seemingly the leader based on his terrifying appearance. Another alien-like being named Jerry Yugenship is shown monitoring the cameras, shocked by Saitama's ability to defeat their strongest fighter. Their leader, whom we learn is named Boros, enters and receives a report about the events on the ship. Boros orders him to summon their strongest fighters to stop the intruder. Jerry Yugenship responds that one of their top fighters has already been killed, shocking Boros. We return to Buroi, who pierces the monster's body with a series of powerful punches, but its body regenerates again, rendering his efforts futile. The monster begins attacking, and IAI warns them about its strikes, mentioning it cut off his arm earlier. Bang intervenes, deflecting the attack and countering with a blow that sends the monster flying a great distance. The monster then decides to send one of its heads toward the ship to unleash destruction on all all the heroes gathered in one place, just like it did to the city. However, Kinzoku Bat intercepts it before it reaches the ship and smashes it with his bat. Suddenly, the monster is summoned back to the ship and informed about the intruder. Back to Saitama, who continues searching for their leader. He finds himself standing in front of a door, trying to open it, and eventually breaks it down. We return to the five-headed monster. The head that was sent regenerates again, and Kinzoku keeps striking it. Meanwhile, the heroes continue their relentless attack on the monster, whose name is revealed to be Melzalgeld. However, their attacks prove ineffective as its body keeps regenerating. IAI suggests they use a method other than direct physical strikes, proposing fire, but no one listens. Melzalgeld is summoned again to deal with the intruder on the ship, but it can't leave due to the heroes' interference. It tells Jiryugunshup to prepare the ship to bombard the heroes. During one of Kinzoku's desperate attempts to kill Melzalgeld, a blue crystal suddenly appears. Kinzoku grabs it, and the monster's head trembles in fear, pleading for its return. Kinzoku breaks it, causing the head to melt and die. He tells the other heroes that the monster has blue crystals, which are its weak points. We shift to Saitama, who hears a voice ordering him to surrender, or they will mobilize all forces to kill him. Saitama responds that he's lost anyway, so even if he wanted to leave, he wouldn't know how. The voice tells him to turn right to exit, but Saitama turns left, heading toward the voice. He breaks down another door and finds himself in the control room, facing Jiryugunshup. The alien declares, "I'm the top user of psychic powers in space," and begins increasing gravity, causing the other aliens in the room to panic and attempt to flee. However, the gravitational pressure immobilizes them. Jiryugunshup is shocked that Saitama is unaffected by the gravity. Frustrated, he gathers debris and creates a whirlwind, hurling shards at Saitama like bullets. Saitama effortlessly catches them, saying, "Anyone can do this easily," before throwing a rock at Jiryugunshup's head, defeating him. Saitama then interrogates a terrified alien about the leader's location. Back with the heroes, they begin targeting the monster's vital points, destroying them one by one until only 2 heads remain. Suddenly, the ship resumes its bombardment, but Tatsumaki uses her abilities to stop the projectiles mid-air and hurl them back at the ship, destroying it. The heroes attack Melzalgeld again, obtaining another crystal and breaking it, leaving only 1 head remaining. The monster launches a powerful strike at Bang, sending him flying a great distance and rendering him unable to move. We return to Saitama, who finally locates the leader's chamber. Entering, he is confronted by Boros, who introduces himself as the leader of the Dark Matter Thieves. Boros asks for Saitama's name and explains that he came to Earth because of a prophecy that foretold he would find someone capable of matching his strength and giving him an enjoyable fight after years of boredom, as no one could rival his power. Saitama interrupts him with a powerful punch that sends Boros flying, mocking his words. However, Boros stands back up, revealing that the world's strongest armor, which suppressed his true power, has broken. He then transforms into a terrifying form. Boros attacks Saitama, but Saitama blocks the strike. Boros continues throwing punches, but Saitama remains unmoved, blocking all of them. A fierce exchange ensues with multiple consecutive strikes. Saitama lands a powerful punch, cutting off Boros' arm. Meanwhile, Tatsumaki moves the shattered rocks and hurls them at the ship to destroy it. Genos watches her, amazed by her abilities. The 9th-ranked S-Class hero, Drive Knight, appears and asks to talk to Genos. He approaches and warns him, saying, "Beware of Metal Knight. He is your enemy. Don't get close to him until you understand what I mean." We switch to Atomic Samurai, who is still fighting Melzalgeld and searching for the final crystal. He keeps slicing its parts, but to no avail. Suddenly, Bang returns to the battlefield and surprises Atomic by attacking the monster from behind, cutting it into tiny pieces. The final crystal appears, and Bang grabs it before the body regenerates and breaks it, finally killing the monster. Returning to Saitama and Boros, their fast and intense battle continues, taking them to the ship's surface. Boros begins releasing more of his power towards Saitama, causing a massive explosion. However, it has no effect on Saitama. Boros declares, "I am the best in healing ability, physical strength, and latent energy," and regenerates his severed arm. Saitama replies, "Shut up and fight," irritating Boros, who lands a direct punch to Saitama's face. Boros continues hitting Saitama with all his strength, eventually launching him off Earth and into the moon. Boros reflects that this form is consuming his energy and life, calling it his trump card to quickly end any battle. Suddenly, Saitama returns to Earth, shocking Boros, who can't believe he survived the attack. Boros charges again with incredible speed, but Saitama lands a powerful punch that sends him flying. Saitama follows up with a series of punches until Boros' body explodes. However, Boros regenerates again, transforms once more, and uses his ultimate move. Saitama decides to use his own trump card, saying, "I'll use my serious Boros Punch Barrage. The attack shatters the ship's core and Boros Crystal, completely defeating him. The ship collapses and crashes. The heroes retreat to the Hero Association building. After the battle, Amai Mask appears and asks Kenzoku to explain what happened. He begins blaming them for the destruction in the city, accusing them of incompetence, despite arriving late himself, claiming he was busy filming a movie. This angers Kenzoku greatly. Suddenly, a strange craft lands and opens to reveal Metal Knight. Amai Mask questions him, asking where he was during the meeting, but Metal Knight ignores him and begins inspecting the ship. Genos questions him, asking, "Are you here to steal the alien ship to create a weapon?" Metal Knight responds, "Yes," adding, "We need stronger weapons to achieve peace."